go. Welcome, James. James is going to be one of our 32 authors at the Spring Book Bash.
Well, thanks. Glad to join the group.
It's going to be a great group. We've got a wide variety of authors showing up this year. And James, you are joining us from Alabama, and you've got some paranormal thriller suspense books. Tell us about your books.
Well, it's I guess from a genre side of it. Okay, the books. Um, I guess what inspired me to write them, or what they're about. It's interesting because um, it really started out of curiosity. You know, I've always wondered, and it started with a thought one day about curiosity of what happens, uh, things that have happened in the past that are unsolvable, conspiracies, just things that are mysteries. And I had a thought of wondering what would it be like if I could just go back there and
Mhm.
and just be there, not interfere with it, but just to see it come back and know in present day the truth. And a great example is the JFK conspiracy. There are so many movies and books and theories about what happened, experts on either side, but nobody really knows. And I thought, what if I could somehow go back to Dealey Plaza on that day, 5 minutes before it happened, knowing about what's going to go on, and see the truth, wake up, and and just know. Now that brings a lot of dilemma with it. Um,
Mhm.
you know the truth. You know the truth. Nobody would believe you. They want to know how you were there, etc. And you've got to live with that burden. And so from that thought, that's how the first book sort of came to be. And I went from there. Next thing I know, it's a series.
So show us that first book. What's the title of the book?
Well, this is the first book. It's called Insight,
Mm-hmm.
and it's again, it's about an engineer, and he's just a normal guy who realizes he has this ability to to go back in time, to dream himself back to a specific time and place as a passive observer. And when he wakes up, he knows the truth about some certain things that happen, but he realizes that he just can't go to the police and give them clues about what happened and the truth about what happened, because he would think either he's a lunatic or he is an insider. He was there.
Oh,
So
yeah.
he submits anonymous tips, and basically it helps to solve things. But then it takes a lot of twists after that, of what happens to him when people realize that he has this ability, or the wrong people realize he has it. So it sort of goes from there.
And book number two.
And yeah, and book number two is Envision. Uh, it's funny. The first book was Insight. How I got that name, I don't know. It just sounded pretty cool.
Bring it over to a little bit into the. There we go. Envision. Awesome.
Yeah, Insight. I just gave that name because of this guy who had this insight into things. And so the second book, I wanted to kind of keep on that same "in" word. I thought that was kind of neat. And so
Mhm.
Envision became the sequel, and that's a takeoff directly from the first book. In fact, it makes a lot of sense once you finish the first one and get into this. You'll see why and how, and so it's a good sequel to that. And then that sort of led up to book number three, called The Station.
Oh,
Now,
okay.
my editor said, why don't we get another book title with the N word? And I thought, I tried. First of all, I was getting a little tired of the N words. And I literally went through the dictionary and looked at all N words. Nothing really fit. But the title of the station definitely fits.
Mm-hmm.
And you definitely know why once you're able to read this. This it's a culmination of the series. I didn't want to go any further. and we'll probably talk about that later if you want. But writing a series is a bit. There are some challenges to it that I want to avoid. So,
And then do you have a fourth book?
I have a fourth book, and this is called The Five.
Okay, scoot over to your left a little bit. There
There
we
we
go.
go. Believe me, by the eighth book, we'll have it down.
Awesome.
Yeah, the five is a standalone book. I
Okay.
took a break. I took a break from the series, and I had an idea about just these five guys. They're in mid to late 40s, and this is really a spin off of maybe my life a little bit, how I grew up. I've got a lot of great friends still that after 50 some odd years, we still stay in touch. We still are good, very good friends, and we've gone on trips together. So these five guys, they do their thing. Since grade school, they've known each other. They go on crazy guy trips, every other year or so. And this time around, one of them suggests going somewhere a little quieter, a little more subdued, upstate New York at the Finger Lakes, maybe a little fishing, a little, whatever. Well, it turns out the small town is a little more than they bargained for, and some things happen there that challenges not just their friendship amongst each other, but their freedom to a degree. And
Ooh.
so this book also has a few twists in it and everything. This was just published about 2 months ago.
Ah, nice new book.
Yeah.
Awesome. So, with your writing process, you've got the trilogy. Is there any more books in that series?
Actually, as much as I said I'm not going to write a series anymore, um, I'm in the midst of book five right now.
Oh, wow.
My fifth book. In fact, I'm on the 10th chapter writing it. It is a takeoff from the first three. It has in book two or three, I forget which one it was. I think it was two. A new interesting character was introduced,
Mm.
and the feedback I got from readers was that they really liked this character. They said, "Wow, you should write a book about him." And the more I heard that, the more I thought, he's a pretty interesting guy. And
Yeah.
so book five is really a takeoff. Has a lot of the same characters from the first three books, but it really centers around this one character and some things through there. So yes, I am continuing the series to a degree.
So, is your process where you are an outliner, a plotter, or are you more of a pantser?
Well, let me preface that by saying if I was on a road trip, without a doubt, I'd be a pantser. When it comes to writing, though, I think I'm just totally the opposite. You know, Driving, I always love to take road trips, and I just think going by the seat of your pants and
Mm-hmm.
taking a main highway and say, that looks like an interesting road there. And just going and doing that,
Mm-hmm.
and getting to where I'm going to eventually. Always happens. When writing, I find it amazing writers who can just have an idea, start writing, not knowing where they're going, but just keep writing. I feel like you can wind up in too many cul-de-sacs that way. And
You can.
yeah, and I just don't want to do that. So my process is simple. I have an idea, a prime idea, and a character who commits to that idea. And I'm thinking, okay, this is great. Now, how would I end it? Every book needs some sort of culmination. So
Right.
once I have an ending, and now I have a story, okay, well, how would I lead into it, get a beginning? So I've got my beginning, my middle, and my end. And what I do is I start with chapter one, and I write maybe two sentences. What would chapter one discuss?
Okay.
Then how would that lead me to chapter two? And I do that for all 50 or so chapters. So now that I have a 2 or 3 sentence summary for all 50 chapters, now I go back to chapter one. Now I write to it. I put in the story and the scenery and the dialogue and until I'm happy with that, then I go to chapter two. And it's a drawn out process, but
Mm-hmm.
It's one that works for me, and at least I have a roadmap. I know where I'm going,
Hmm.
and don't. That's not to say I don't deviate, because once in a while I'll just. In fact, that just happened with the fifth book. I got to chapter 8, and I realized that I didn't want to go this route. I said, no, I got to change this up a little bit. So I took a detour, but for the most part, that's how I do my writing.
Well, and that's the great thing about doing all these interviews with all the various authors is that you get to learn everybody's got a different process.
Mhm.
And it's all in work what works for you and how you normally work. So with your day job, I'm not surprised that you work with a process and an outline. Um, would you agree that that kind of ties together?
I think so. Where and how and what I've worked in over the last 40 to 45 years, supporting government,
Hmm.
it's structured, it's technical, and yes, you get some discipline from it, and I guess that's the discipline in my writing, is that I have to be structured. I have to know where I'm going, where I am at all times in there. And yeah, it's difficult. I don't know how many more years I'll be months or years I'll be working, but to find the time to claw away from the work environment and write has been a little bit of a challenge.
So when you do retire, whenever that is,
Mhm.
do you picture yourself just writing, or do you have something else that you want to do along with writing?
I I mean, for now, I mean, writing is still a hobby.
Okay.
It's still a fun thing to do. Um, I would certainly want to continue doing it. I'm enjoying it more and more. I'm getting involved in it more and more. But I don't want to have the sedentary lifestyle of sitting behind a desk hour after hour, and writing. I've got to get up every now and then. I've always been active my whole life. I've been, an athlete, and just active in doing things. And I'm finding that between working at a desk job,
Hmm.
supporting NASA, and writing at my desk, uh, you know, my posture is getting a little more leaned over and looking at a laptop, etc., and not getting out and being active like I'm used to be.
Hmm.
So, in answer to your question, I don't know what else I'm going to do, but I've got to do something that
So,
keeps me active. Yeah.
so do you bring any of your real life career into your writings? I know some of
Uh,
it probably can't, but
well, I'll tell you, it has influenced it to a degree, because working in a government environment,
hmm.
especially early on, I worked for Department of Defense, and there was and obviously you need a clearance for that.
Hmm.
And I still work with things that are sensitive to a degree, but working in government, I think, spurs your imagination and your curiosity a little bit, because we always wonder if we could pull back the curtain. What's really happening back there? What's the government really doing? Um, we're mystified by a lot of things,
Hmm.
and I like that mystique. And I think the fact of being an author, writing a novel, and hence the term novel, it's not real. Um, an author has a certain license to be able to, twist a few things, and make really give you a peek behind an imaginary curtain. And in doing that, I hope that I kind of, tweak the curiosity of the reader a little bit and make them a little more interested in what I'm doing.
So do you ever see yourself writing something other than what you've written? Are you looking at possibly doing any other genres or sticking with what you know?
Well, not to put myself on par with these guys, but you look at a James Patterson or a Robert Ludlum and a Grisham, and you see the types of things they write. I don't see them writing any romance novels.
No.
Okay. So I'll answer the question in the same vein that, you write what you're comfortable writing. You write what you know.
Mm-hmm.
Um, oh gosh, that almost makes me sound like I'm an unromantic guy. But but no, I enjoy writing about government and mystique and the just the curiosity type stuff like that as opposed to anything else. So I'll probably stay in that for more or less.
Awesome. That is so neat. I'm looking forward to meeting you in person and seeing you here in South Carolina. We've got a great lineup of authors that you're going to be joining. And I just want to thank you for taking some time out of your day to talk about your books. And thank you.
Well, thanks so much. I appreciate it. I really look forward to coming out there. I haven't done many of these events, so it'll be an experience for me to meet the other authors and to be in the environment, of selling books and signing books and just being out there in the public. I look forward to it.
Well, thank you. And I will see you at the end of April.
Thank you, Mandy. We'll see you then.